What's up, YouTubers? It's your buddy Choppadong. I am going to come at you with a real quick version of DFS Diary today. We're going to focus on the NHL Showdown slate. NBA's already up and rock and rolling over at DFSArmy.com. If you're interested in becoming a VIP, of course, you head down to the comments section, click the link down there. Coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, triggers 20% off. But right now, we're going to focus a little bit on some of the NHL Showdown. Seems to be my, I don't know, thing du jour, whatever you want to call it. And I got a request for an NFL or NBA tiers video. We'll probably move over there next. But let's, back-to-back nights. We did, what were we, 12th last night, 14th night before. So haven't really cashed yet. We've been a little bit too balanced when the game's been really, really lopsided, and that has cost us. I think we made a couple of good moves, putting some right guys in the captain's spot. To at least hold our own. We've hit top half each time, almost hit top third each time. Well, I guess we did technically hit top third. Those kinds of performances tell you you're on the right track. You're just kind of waiting for the night where it kind of all comes together. If it shows you that you can do that steadily. We'll use the NHL research station on DFSArmy.com to do this. And I want to show you really quickly who we're looking at tonight. Pittsburgh at San Jose. This promises to be a fun game. And there's going to be a just wide open possibilities tonight. So this one's very, very GPP oriented. There is no way that you can get up on the fish and some guys are going to make some egregious mistakes and you're going to be able to capitalize on that. Tonight's just going to be one of those nights where you're probably just going to have to put your balls on the block and chop them off. And hopefully you don't catch an artery when you do it. But looking at, I know it makes no sense, but whatever. You get what you pay for with me. Pittsburgh and San Jose, we're going to take a real quick look at the road games. I looked through my score app on my phone and showed the road and the offense and things of these teams. These are both offensive juggernauts, but let's look at what they're doing lately. 8-2 for Pittsburgh, last 10 games, 7-2 on the road. Goals for are up. Goals for are up to 4.5. They are scoring goals. Now, they've had a couple of bad games in their last 10, but they have largely been scoring goals on the road. Looking at shots on goal, are down too. They've been playing a little bit of decent defense. Now, if you look at their power play versus their penalty kill is way up defensively. They're just not allowing a lot of power play goals against. So you would think, well, that's going to bode poorly for San Jose. Well, I don't know, because San Jose's last home game, last 10 home games are 7-1 or 8-1 over the last 10 overall, and they're up to 4.6 as well too. Now you can see why this game's at a 6.5. It's leaning towards the over in Vegas. Both teams have an ITT over a 3, and you've got a little bit of odds slanted towards the home team, but really this one's pretty wide open. This one should be high scoring. So let's run in. First, we're going to have to find some value. We're going to have to decide what we want to do at defense. Maybe look for a core play or two, some people like that. So while we load up the skaters tab here, actually let's go line combos. And we'll scroll down to that bottom game. And I'll tell you what, the showdowns, if you're in a real hurry and really, really quick, these are actually a pretty easy way to break down a specific game. And then if you get a shorter slate, 3 games, 4 games, you can break down each individual game like this and probably really find some value and figure out what these guys are doing on these 10-game slates that are writing some of these world-class articles. Obviously, line 1 is green for Pittsburgh. They're a powerful team. Last 10 games have been great. Last 5 games have been great. I'm looking for a shot floor. Well, all 3 of them got it. So who's the cheaper one? Rust? So give me 2 goals and assists, 16 shots. Rust is going to be in the back of my mind as a potential value play tonight. Now, I don't know if I'd use him. I'd like to find out who the shutdown line is in San Jose, because they're going to get to target which line they want, and that may free up Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin, and it may even free up Phil Kessel, who you don't see on this list, who we'll have to look at a little bit later. But when you're looking at these guys again, you're looking at, are there any defensemen that are on this? Well, there are not any cheap ones necessarily that are doing any significant damage. Letang's got 9 assists. He won't be cheap. He gives you access to both Malkin and Crosby, and if you want to fade both of those two, focus on the San Jose side. He might not be a bad way to go, in that he does give you access to both of those, and on the power play gives you access to Phil Kessel as well, which means that you might get lucky with a couple of assists You might get lucky with a couple of assists tonight, and if either of those two guys don't have an outstanding game, then you're probably okay to take your access out of the Pittsburgh offense and then move over to San Jose and look for maybe a little bit of value over here. When we look over here, Logan Couture's been okay, but not lately. Hasn't been that great lately, especially the last 5 games. None of these guys really have. Timo Meier's got a few assists. It's okay. He's probably a little bit overpriced in the showdown as well. Brendan Dillon, Erik Karlsson. Where's Brent Burns? Second pairing? That's just ridiculous. Looking over here at Erik Karlsson, I see 17 assists in his last 10 games and 1 goal. I would rather take Brent Burns and his 6 goals. They've got a 49 shot floor, 18 block floor versus Erik Karlsson's 25. Give me 49 over 25 and give me 18 over 16 any day of the week, right? Because if I add this up, what am I looking at here? 25 and 16 is what? 30, 41. I mean, hell, Burns has put more shots on goal than Karlsson's put shots and blocks on the stat sheet. So that's just a ridiculous advantage. If they're remotely closely priced together, then you're going to be opting for Burns most likely, especially since Burns is on that power play 1 with him. I don't see a lot of real hot stuff going on here. I do see Joe Thornton, which might not be a bad play as one of your forwards. Pavelski scored a little bit. Pavelski's shooting the puck a little bit better. Just not a ton here. Timo Meier and Pavelski, if you're going by that number. These are the ones that we're looking at off of this page. You're going to love a lot of the Pittsburgh stuff if you're looking for green numbers. What I would rather do is kick over down here to the skaters tab. Again, let's look for the implied scoring, or not the implied scoring, percentage of team scoring. Kucherov, that's not right. We need to sort out these guys and go down to San Jose, and then when that one kicks in, we'll go to Pittsburgh, hold the control key, kick that Pittsburgh blue, and now you're only dealing with those 2 teams. Okay, and in a showdown slate, all 4 lines are in play. I don't want to make you think that you have to only go with a couple of guys. But we're going to come over here. We're looking at 45%, 43%, 44%, 48%. Phil Kessel, 48% of the team's numbers are flowing through him. Crosby, 45%. And Malkin, 43%. So it's not... it's not like there's a big advantage to anyone. It's not some dominant performance like a Connor McDavid last night. Connor was just awfully pricey. Turned out that, as usual, worked out just fine for those that used him. Scroll over and run that shot on block floor first. Let's look down this way. Take a quick peek, and we've got Brent Burns with a huge shot on shots and block floor. 67, as we saw. Chris Letang, 51. You might take the cheaper guy, probably Letang. Justin Braun, if he's playing. Karlsson. Evander Kane was another real interesting one that I was looking through last night, looking at game logs and looking at who's been scoring lately. Evander Kane has been putting up some points. And you look over here, and you want the buyers or sellers technique. You got an 18.5 10-game baseline and a 25.5 game baseline. So, what you're looking at here is a guy who's ascending still. So Evander Kane might be somebody that I would be focused on tonight. If I'm looking for dirt cheap guys, you might come down here. One of the things you can do is take that salary down. Cut this one out to say less than, say, $6,000. And that's just an arbitrary number that I just picked to get me down into some of the deeper value. Let's see how that translates to some of these higher, shot on goal and blocked shot floor guys just really, really quickly here. And we're looking at Justin Braun, of course. Now, really, really interesting for dirt cheap, being that we need a dirt cheap guy tonight. If Justin Braun is in that starting lineup, here's one way I can find that really, really quick. I can run over to the RotoGrinders starting lineups page, then I can scroll down to the bottom. As you can see, I'm doing my research right here with you today. We don't need to do a whole heck of a lot. Yeah, there he is, Justin Braun. Now, there's no power play access, but he's dirt cheap. And I noticed that a lot of these teams, a lot of these players have been taking dirt cheap defensemen and then have been loading up and taking like kind of a 4x1 type stack and picking one side or the other and hoping that it pans out. I don't know where I would get the most bang for my buck or the most access tonight. If I wanted to cover up some of these lines, this is what I'm sort of noticing. They would take 2 from here and 2 from here. Now you've covered the top 2 lines. And then they'll run it back with one cheap dude over here, or if they've got a lot of money left over, a decent guy over here, and hope that this is the offense that scores 2, 3, 4 goals. Last night, Buffalo only scored 2 goals. And a lot of the guys in the top 5 of that 40-man were doing that exact same thing, where they just had the guys who had access to some of the goals on Buffalo, and it worked out for them. Might be an interesting technique to try. So when we're digging through for the value here and we find a Justin Braun, Mata may probably, well, he's up there. For the cheap guys, Braun, Mata, Tanner Pearson. Tanner Pearson's 14.7 in his points, just his raw production, and 11.7. I'm looking for somebody who might be on the ascension. Timo Meier down here, 13.9. Looking over at Marcus Pettersson. It's a little bit interesting, but there's not much of a floor that comes with this one compared to these guys up here. And you're going to want a combination of both. So if I'm looking at where do I think the game's going to go first? Who do I think is maybe going to win? Who's going to score 2 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals? Who's most likely to explode? That might be the team that I target. If I wanted to stay with Vegas and use the home team, I would be searching within the confines of the San Jose lineup. And I would probably be looking at a Burns for access to everything, and Evander Kane, maybe a Logan Couture. So if I come back over here and chop this one off, let's see what we can't get when I reset this filter here. Let's look for just the San Jose guys with the higher floors and maybe a little bit of ascending numbers. Brent Burns, Chris Letang, no, Justin Braun. Braun was the third liner. So maybe there's your double defense, and it's a cheap one. Sorry to keep flipping tabs on you. Brent Burns, Justin Braun, that's dirt cheap for up here, awfully high on the floor list, the 43. It's almost, see, not a lot of people are going to play him tonight. He scores a goal tonight, you get a lot of leverage on the field. Carlson, there's Kane, Malkin, Mata, Crosby, Hurdle, Gensel, Pavelski, Timo Meier. So if I look down here at the results, these now we're getting a little bit lower. But if I'm looking at the results, 16-7 over, what, a 30? So Kessel's dropped off a little bit. Well, that's about half. You'd hope it was about the same, because these are per game, actually. So 14 for Timo Meier's on the ascension again. 13 for Brian Rust over 9. It gets you access to Sidney Crosby. 31 over 21, Jake Gensel. Welcome home. 14 over a 15 is not quite there. 14 over a 25 is not quite there. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the 14 here and then the 25 here. 10 isn't going to cut the mustard, but that's Mata, so it's not the worst because he should be cheap. 22 over 23, no. 24 over to Evander Kane, we already pointed out. 24 over 26, about the same for Erik Karlsson. 9 over 9 for Justin Braun. 15 for Letang over a 22. That's a drop. 29 over 33 for Brent Burns. It's a drop. So what I think you're going to find, what I would imagine maybe that you'll find in defense is an awful lot. Well, let's automatically just chump one in the captain spot. This is one way I've found that'll fill the captain spot. But if I want to run defense, I may even want to run 3 defensemen tonight. If I can get Letang and Burns in there, that would be a different build. I don't think the odds of them scoring a ton of goals on the night are there, so I don't think there's a lot of upside with this type of play. Mata, Dylan, Vlasic, there's Justin Braun. And then if I wanted to run Burns, that's fine. If I wanted to run Patterson, he was in the list, that's okay. Now I've got a lot triggered up for this spot here. I've got $10,000 on average. So I can come over here to my forwards, and I can play, maybe the Kessel, Gensel, maybe Kane, Timo Meier. I don't want Meier in my captain spot. I guess being a center, that's what they had to do. So again, I'll come down here, drop him in here, come back up and see what Timo Meier does at 8,500. And I've got another forward spot here and a captain spot. I don't know which one, who I might, think is going to have the bigger game. I can either take the high floor guy or the high ceiling guy. I could take Kessel and throw him in there. Hope that he has a big night with a couple of goals, something along those lines. And then the other team has a more balanced attack tonight. And if they score 2 goals or 3 goals from Pittsburgh, Kessel gets the majority of the run. If that's the case, it's a way to make up for the other side of things. 13-5 left gets me Malkin, gets me Crosby actually. Pavelski, Couture. So if I ran Kessel and Crosby or Kessel and Malkin, I might look at who's done best lately. And looking at this game log here, I see a lot of double digits out of the last 6 or 8 games. Let's see if Crosby has the same situation or if he's got holes in his scores. There's a single digit, there's a single digit. So it looks like Malkin, especially being the number 2 on the road, there's a viable lineup for you. Kessel in the captain spot. You want to flip him and put Malkin in the fine. You want to put, somebody else in there, fine. But you do that with with 2 cheap Ds. And I've got Evander Kane on one line and Timo Meier on the other, I believe. There's Meier. Kane's down here on the 3, which is really interesting. I may run, I don't know how much I want to be up here up top, but if I was running at home, and I know that Pittsburgh is prone to giving up some goals, I might run Pavelski, Thornton, Meier, and Kane. So let's try that one. There's Meier, Kane, Pavelski. And who else I say? Thornton. And now I've got 4,500 remaining for these defenders. I could take Justin Braun. I could take Pettersson. I can't get him all the way up to the San Jose guy, obviously, but I could leave Pettersson there. I could take Braun and possibly get him up to Burns easy enough. And there I've got everything loaded. I've got 3-line coverage in San Jose, and one little guy here, Pettersson, all he has to do is do something. And then if San Jose ends up beating Pittsburgh 5-1 tonight, I'm likely going to walk away with decent cash in the 39-man type of tournament or the 150-man type tournament. But I'm putting a lot of risk in there. But again, I'm playing a 40-man tournament. I don't need to take a ton of risk, maybe this much, but this has been what's working the past couple of days. If I didn't want to run Pettersson, Thornton, Meier, Kane, Pavelski, and of course you're going to switch around who you're going to want to put in your captain spot. Let's say we wanted to run Letang in the D, and now you want to go back over to running your forwards, and you wanted Couture, and you wanted Kane, and you wanted Meier. Now, I don't know what you're going to get out of Burns if this is the case, because you're going to end up you're below the minimum already. But if I did Braun instead as my cheaper guy, I've got 9,500 left for a forward here. I'm not in a terrible spot. I need it to be, well, it could be another Pittsburgh, could be another San Jose guy. But when I'm looking at 9,500, Hurdle, Rust, that wasn't terrible. Leave 1,000 on the table. Hornquist, if he comes back, if he's scheduled to play tonight. Donskoy, Carlson, Tanner Pearson would be a little off the radar. Again, I don't know that you need to take quite that much risk to win a 40-man event. You can stay pretty much within the chalk, and it's going to become, what happens on your defense and what happens in your captain spot. The others, if they just produce like average, you should be right there kind of in the mix. Again, this is one of those ideas where people are going to get a little bit too fancy sometimes for the size of the tournament. 40 people, you just don't need to. You can stack, obviously, that's been working, but you don't need to reach, because look at what happened last night. A couple of no-names scored a couple of goals with a goal and an assist, something like that, in that game last night. And when I looked on, I thought, hey, it's scoring 3-2. It's about what I thought it would be. And then went looking, I was like, who? Who scored? Who scored? And I was like, oh, man. But I came in here and I saw the 39-man contest and was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. They were not owned. The guys doing the damn, it was still a competition for the chalk. It was still a competition for, now if you want to take those kinds of plays, that wild 4th-line guy that got 2 goals last night, those are the types of things, again, you put in 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 person tournaments, because those are the places it's going to pay off. You don't need that to win, whatever it is, $30 out of this $100 tournament. The payoff just isn't there for how rarely that guy's going to go off and be the difference maker. You know what I mean? But in a 20-some-odd thousand person tournament, yes, that guy was the difference maker, and people had him. And that's the way that was just going to have to work. But again, it's not necessary in these types of formats, these super, super small type formats where you can play them almost like cash games. Stay within the chalk. Think about maybe you might think a little bit about where's everybody going to go tonight. If they're going to load up on Pittsburgh and Sidney Crosby, maybe he's worth a fade, or whatever. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on Evander Kane. I don't think many are going to put him in the captain spot. I don't think a lot of people are maybe going to be using a lot of these guys together. I don't think anybody's going to necessarily be on Justin Braun. They might because he's a cheap defenseman, but in a lot of cases, these third line guys that aren't on the power play, no problem. They're not usually very, very highly owned. And it's a good, cheap access to a guy who's got a floor and's been producing somewhat. He's going to get you maybe 3 to 5 points. And if you get lucky, he's going to get you a little bit more with some kind of production. And that fills that $6,500 spot. And the next thing you know, you can focus a little bit more on where you're trying to go from there. I mean, Kessel is in a good spot. These guys, if you want to trust the guys on the road, one of the theories that we use a lot is using the road guys, the second liners or whatever on the road versus the first liners at home. First liners, anyone at home is pretty much in play, but the first liners tend to get the matchup that they want. The second liners on the road tend to get matched up against the opposing first liners, and that sometimes can lead to the softer defense because top lines generally don't play a lot of defense. So another little bit of a theory for you that isn't necessarily proven, but isn't really a terrible theory. If you understand a little bit about hockey, you see how that can logically pan out. Now, there's a lot more fine-tuning research that probably goes into determining if tonight's the night that might happen between these two teams, but as a generic, wide, encompassing rule, it's not one to really let slip through your mind in a lot of nights. I don't know where I'm going to wind up going. I don't know if I'm going to go all four on one team and then with one guy or two guys off of the other team, or if I'm going to go, I probably won't be too balanced tonight. I'm going to have to try and dig in a little bit, look at the road records, look at the home records, who's been playing well lately, who's been scoring. We see that they're pretty evenly matched. It's just a matter of both teams are on adequate rest. Both teams get more rest tomorrow and the next day. It's not like they're looking forward to some kind of a game, so there's no real trap narrative involved there. But these are just things that we're going to have to pick a side, probably flip a coin, and hope we get it right. If you entered, maybe this is a night where instead of the $3 single entry breakaway, I would go to the $1 5 entry max tournament, and I'd put in two-sided lines. I'd put in a Pittsburgh stack, and then I'd put in a San Jose stack, and then I could sit back and watch the game tonight and just go, I don't care what happens, because I've likely got a decent chunk of either one. But you're going to have to beat 300 people, so it's going to be harder to beat 40 people, and you're going to have to maybe think about putting somebody like a Braun or somebody in the captain spot, or somebody like a Letang or a Burns, somebody like that in a captain spot that's maybe going to throw that off a little bit, or work a line stack, and hope that it hits on our power play type stack like Crosby, and Malkin and Kessel, and those be your guys, and then go Braun and Burns, and then like a cheap Timo Meyer or something like that. Those might be ways that you can finagle that lineup and make things work. But again, there's a lot of movement. I'm finding a lot of maneuverability inside these showdown slates. But generally speaking, if you stay fundamentally sound and you stay a little bit closer to the vest and you don't take wild, crazy plays, you just maybe take normal plays and then kind of stack them up a little bit, kind of correlate them, or pick one team over the other and make sure you've got access to both top lines. That seems to be what's working right now. So, at any rate, this is a Chapadong DFS Diary, NHL January 15th. We're halfway through January already. My goodness. Thank you to everybody for the likes and subscribes, and of course, ringing the little notification bell. This video should be posted out on Twitter when it uploads, and of course, we'll be inside DFS Army answering questions leading up to these games. That's what the coaches do in NBA, PGA, whatever. That's what we'll talk PGA maybe tomorrow, and we'll worry about NBA tiers at some point coming up here soon. So I do appreciate the comments and the questions and the suggestions. That really helps a lot. But don't be afraid to go to dfsarmy.com, click that link, and use coupon code SHOP to trigger that 20% off. That's how you become a member. That's how you get total access to me 24/7. If you like the type of coaching that we do, I promise you nobody digs into your game more than I do. I may not be specific for NBA or specific for PGA, but I can certainly help you contest select, help you with your bankroll management, and help you get up and running and make you a more competitive player very, very, very quickly. That's what I seem to be able to do. So hopefully we see you on the inside, guys. Take care, and we will hopefully see you tomorrow.